Okay, this time we'll talk about the dimensions of the actual playing area and how to make an OGR map with spawn zones. Let's first do the spawns and where I want them. I already mentioned I might make this Zulu, so we probably will start playing over here somewhere. Sometimes we start up here. We could start inside the building. We can start outside back here. I think the start on this map is going to be like right here maybe. Let's put all our spawn dummies, which are invisible creatures, in the props menu into this space. A spawn dummy listed under S, right next to these barriers we put in earlier. They look like this. They don't have proper textures, but they're soldiers, they're ghosts. So we'll put a couple and rotate them just like an object in here. Usually I put 16 in there so that if we have a full map, everybody that spawns has their own location to spawn. If you have less than the number of players, more than one player will spawn in the exact location of another one. 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 16. Alright, that's all you need to spawn 16 in unique locations. They're all going to be looking towards where we need to go. Then you go to the multiplayer menu to actually define the zones for Zulu, for spawn, and later on we're going to edit the actual dimensions of the minimap. I'm going to right click here and it brings up this menu. It says alpha. I want to put a 1 in here, and then that's alpha 1 is for OGR maps, what you need to spawn, that defines the blue spawn zone on the map, and use the right mouse button to drag in the landscape these boxes, which are like big towers actually, but ultimately this defines from top down the box where you spawn in. Everybody's got to be in there. If you're not in there and you spawn, you will fall through the map into the black void down here, and you don't want to be there. And we're going to have a Zulu over here, right next to the chopper. Right click. Zulu is Bravo, and it's base 2. I don't want to call it Zulu. I read somewhere, I don't know if that's true, but it should be Bravo, and it works, so that's what we'll do. By doing it big enough, you can actually see it on the minimap. The chopper is Zulu. That's all it takes, but note, when you look up from way up high, the playing area, the red area, includes most of our map, but not everything. And this one is definitely outside, and that would be ugly, because it wouldn't be on the minimap, and it gets really confused then. So what we need to do is get these two orbs enlarged, and keep this whole thing a square. So let's see where we are here. There is actually a coordinate. You go into this orb right to the corner that's in there, and hit your F12, and you get your coordinates on the very bottom. So this is 10,000 minus 10,000. And you know, we probably need a little bit more in that direction. Now cruising over here, this should be minus 10,000. Can't see it. There we go. Now you can see the numbers. Minus 10,000 with a couple centimeters on. I'm not totally in the corner. And plus 10,000. So this whole map is 200 meters. It's 100 meters this way. Well, actually, it's 200 meters in each direction. From the 0 position, it goes 100 to the right, and 100 to the left, 100 forward, 100 back. What we want to do is find out, okay, how much more do I need to get this corner into the game? Well, we get 140 minus, so it's 14,000 minus 11. And over here, it is minus 15,000 and 7,600. So, well, ignore the small values. The biggest ones are what matter. Minus 15,000. Well, to have this in the map, this corner, 15.5. Well, why don't we make it 16,000? So the trick right now to keep it square is to move both in the same direction by the same amount. Sometimes you can shift it if you have to, but if we make it 16,000, it'll grow nicely in all directions to include the world we live in. So I'm going to save it right now and do this outside of the editor, because you can't do it in the editor. I don't know how to, but it works outside. I'm going to open my custom levels folder, go in the work folder, find the test map that we're in there, go into the XML folder, open, right click, edit the zones file, which is here, and there's those numbers that define right now where the borders of the map are. And I wanted to change that to 16,000. So the easiest way to keep it square is to make the whole thing much bigger. File, save, done. Don't mess with the height. I don't know why it has to be at 5,550 meters up, but that's where it is. The base 1 and 2 were defined by those boxes I was drawing earlier. So that's all. Back into the game to see, actually into the editor to see what I did. It's got to load. And even on a fast computer, it takes a while, especially when you're recording video. Hang on. Test map. Load. And then I have to move this in position. Yeah. That should be about right. Alright. Change it back to multiplayer. And let's take a look. Bingo! Look how big that box has become. There's nothing black. That's why I put the tiles on there on the outside. It would not, if I now rendered the map, we'd have a really nice looking mini map showing the entire place with a little edge space where you can put date, name, and whatever. Like down this side, I could overtype this with the map date. So that's basically it about multiplayer for an OGR map, where to put the boxes and how to define the space. If you mess up with the squareness of this box, the game will always take even a totally rectangular minimap and stretch it to a square, and it'll look real goofy. So you want to be pretty square and do some thinking on the math to get these boxes to fit over your map and be still square. You have to do a little math there on a piece of paper sometimes if you need to shift it left or right. It's a smart idea to do that first and then to build your map within that. Then that saves you the hassle, but you have to go back and forth to always kind of maybe just put a chimney into each corner to set your corners that you later on delete, and then build your world in between. Stuff like that you have to just do to make things playable. And it's not built in, but you can work around the limitations. Now this menu, player, I think it gets you this guy. You can actually move him around, I think. No, doesn't really matter because we do nothing in that menu. We ignore that. Next would be area. Now this is for multiplayer stuff. I'm gonna skip that because before we define areas, we actually have to work with what's called the AI graph to let the bots on the map have a invisible track to walk on, and we have to go across the entire map to do this, and we'll do how that works in the next segment. Cut this one short right now.